Okay, so now we come to cutting out the actual cartoon dog for our project. If we go to File and Open, and in the Resources directory we can see that we have cartoon dog JPEG. So if we just open this up, see the dog there, very nice, apart from it's stuck on a white background, which we of course don't want to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw completely around this dog so we have the full path shape. Pressing P on the keyboard just to select the pen tool. What I recommend when you're drawing around something like this is, for the first point, is just find somewhere that's in a corner rather than starting halfway through a curve, because that can get a little bit, that can cause some issues when you actually come to closing the path up once you've drawn completely around it. So if we start on a point somewhere, I usually find that's the best thing to do. So we'll start, let's say we'll start here, just up by his shoulder. So I'm going to zoom in to say 400%, so we're quite far zoomed in there. Again, moving around I find it very useful to use the spacebar quite a lot when using the path tool, just so that you can move on to the next bit, draw the next bit of path, and then just quickly move on to the next part. So that's what I'll be doing quite a bit throughout this video. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around the entire dog here in this video, which is obviously going to take, I don't know, quite some time, probably a little over 10 minutes, maybe longer. I'll leave the recorder going while I do this, but rather than you using this as a tutorial video, you can by all means watch me go through the entire process, and you'll probably gain some tips and things on how to do this. But alternatively, you can spend the time and go and draw around the dog yourself. And what we'll do in the next video, I will actually give you the file with the dog and the path already complete. So if you do struggle, what I'm saying is, if you do struggle with this section, which is understandable because they take a little bit of getting used to do these paths, what we can do is you can skip to the next video where I'll give you the actual file that has the paths on, and we will just take it from there and go on and cut the dog out and paste it onto the header. So for any sadists amongst you that want to sit and watch this, thank you very much, and here we go. We'll start drawing around the dog. So like I said, I'm going to start in the corner here with the pen tool. Now, because there's such quite a strong contrast between the white here and the black outline of the dog, what I'm going to aim to do is always stay slightly within the black area of the dog. That way I'm not, if I go too close to the edge and try to do it effectively too accurately, what I'm going to get is I'm going to start getting some white areas mixed in with the black here, where the anti-aliasing is kicking in. And I don't really want that. I want my dog to have a nice black edge, so I'm effectively going to be drawing within this black area but following the curve. So here we go. Instead of describing every single point that I do, I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly. But if you follow what I'm doing, you will get a good idea of how this is done. Again, I wasn't happy with that one, so nudge the point around a little bit. Now I've got a fairly straight line here, so there's no need to put too many points on there. I can pick one, say halfway, and one here. And now I'm coming to a corner part. I don't necessarily need to use the Bezier, I can just click just to get it around that little corner. So I'll put a little straight line in there, but at 500% zoomed in, once we get zoomed out and then the dog's smaller than the original image anyway, you're certainly not going to notice little things like that. That's the beauty. That's why we've zoomed in so much to start with, because any slight inaccuracies you get whilst doing it at this level of zoom, certainly not going to show up when you get it back down to 100%, and even less so once we once we size that down to fit onto the header as well. That's why when whenever you're choosing images for your compositions in the future to be cut out, it's always best to get the very largest image you can find or purchase for cutting out, because that does allow you to zoom in with more accuracy, and it gives yourself a better chance of getting a nice path tool, a nice cut out edge without having to compromise and leave out bits that you don't want to leave out. I am waffling slightly, that's because I'm just trying to get through this. I realise this is not going to be the most exciting video in the set, but if you do stick with it like that, no need to do a curve there. I'm just quickly doing a little point, a straight edge there, but you're not going to be able to tell that. As you can see, it's all about getting a feel for the curves, where the curves are going to go, and the shapes. Now I'm coming to a point here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get that going around this corner and just click in that corner. Instead of holding down, just click so it goes to a point. So I've sort of finished that curve and I'm starting another curve, instead of having to curve around a point, which is, you know, far too time consuming, far too accurate for what we need. So just going around to see, effectively this is the end of another little curve here where it dips, so I'm just going to click that and then set off and start a new curve. So I'm just going to click and hold down there, hold down there, and around here. Does anybody know any good jokes? No? No. Okay. I guess you'll just have to listen to my voice then, you poor things. Or I could shut up, I guess. Although I do tend to find that very difficult, even when the camera's not rolling. I'm not sure I should be admitting that to the general public, but there we go. So I'm just drawing around this and talking nonsense. If you just joined us, if you have just joined us, that's quite bizarre. I don't know why you would do that. So I'm just drawing around his fingers now. Sometimes I find when you're zoomed in so close to some images, especially if it's a more complex image like a piece of machinery or a vehicle, you do tend to actually lose whereabouts in the image you are, because the curves you're drawing just make no sense. So from time to time I just like to zoom out and make sure I know where I am, so we can see our curve going around there. To the naked eye that looks like it's absolutely perfect. So we'll just zoom back in and carry on. Nice straight line here, so we can probably go right down to the bottom rather than doing any curves. Yeah, there we go, we can see the line follows that very nicely indeed. And off we go again with good curves. It is one of the arts to doing this, is sort of knowing when to do a curve, when to stop a curve. And it generally is when you get to a point like this, you just need to click, call that the end of one curve, and then start another one. And as you can see, most of my handles that I've done throughout this, they always sit parallel to the edge of the curve that you're drawing around. And that's something useful to remember, really, because you can't go far wrong when doing it like this. And if you do, you just start again, which is not fun after drawing around something for about 30 minutes and you have to start again. Believe me, I've done that far too many times. as I'm sure you will too, and you'll want to kill Photoshop.